I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well, everybody, today we reached my 700th episode. And what am I planning to blog today? Well, how about a little background info before we get there? In 1877, English novelist Anna Sewell published a classic horse book, Black Beauty, His Grooms and Companions, the autobiography of a horse. It told the story of a beautiful black Mustang and his life experience from his carefree days as a foal on an English farm with his mother, to his difficult life pulling cabs in London, to his happy retirement in the country. Along the way, he meets with many hardships and recounts many tales of cruelty and kindness. Each short chapter recounts an incident in Black Beauty's life containing a lesson or moral typically related to the kindness, sympathy, and understanding treatment of horses, with Sewell's detailed observations and extensive descriptions of horse behavior. To this day, Black Beauty has been considered as one of the best-selling books of all time, and it is sad that 5 months after the story was published, Sewell became bedridden, ill, and passed away at the age of 58 due to hepatitis and tuberculosis. By the way, back in my elementary age, I first read the book during my summer school reading classes, and not long after, I saw the 1994 film version released by Warner Brothers. Also, over the years, I've seen a few other Black Beauty films, like the 1987 animated adaptation by Burbank Films Australia, the 1978 animated film by Hanna-Barbera, and the 1995 animated film by Good Times and Jetlag. Plus, I've also seen a few episodes from the Adventures of Black Beauty TV series, which ran from 1972 to 1974. But I sadly have not seen any of the older versions from either 1921, 1946, or 1971. Now, aside from all those Black Beauty movies, just 2 years ago, during this blasted pandemic, there was a streamed film version that was adapted by the one company who knows how to truly bring horse to life, the Walt Disney Company. But is this version any good in my opinion? Well, let's take a look and find out. Released to Disney Plus on November 27th, 2020, the movie is Black Beauty. And now, on for the plot of the film. Born free in the American West, Black Beauty is rounded up and brought to Britwell Stables, where she meets spirited teenager Joe Green. Over the course of the film, Black Beauty and Joe forge a bond that carries Beauty through the different chapters, challenges, and adventures. And what are my thoughts on this movie? Well, as Mustang Prince, I loved it. Truly a beautiful and tear-jerking movie. And to further explain why I love it, let's move on to Mustang notes. The film was written, edited, and directed by Ashley Avis, who previously directed Deserted and Adolescence, and the filming began in South Africa in October 2019. In July 2020, Walt Disney Pictures acquired distribution rights to the film from Constantine Films. Originally scheduled for a theatrical release, it was unable to be released in cinemas due to the negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was instead streamed to Disney Plus. Fun fact, this is actually Disney's second adaptation of Black Beauty. If you don't know what I mean, Disney had previously adapted the story into a 1966 picture book titled Walt Disney Presents the Story of Black Beauty, which was accompanied by a record. Also, unlike the original novel, which was set in the 19th century, this movie version is set in the 21st century, which to me is not that much of a big deal, and it doesn't really affect my enjoyment of the film whatsoever, unlike past films set in modern day like Dinotopia, Annie, and other films like that. Anyway, in my personal opinion, the landscapes and environments in this movie are simply breathtaking, from the western plains, the mountains, the ranches, to the streets of New York City. Also, I just love the many different horses that are featured in the movie, since, as Mustang Prince, I love everything that is horse related, including unicorns, pegasi, seahorses, and other things. Also, I think the story is very well written and narrated, and some parts of the film really put me in tears. Also, in my opinion, this movie not only brings back memories from the original book, but I also like how certain parts of it center on dealing with loss and the value of friendship. And I also like how the film compares horses to humans' behaviors. Another thing that I like is that it mentions that a Mustang's spirit can never be broken. Plus, I think the bond between Black Beauty and Joe really makes me smile, and it kind of makes me think of Lucky Prescott and Spirit from Spirit Riding Free. Plus, some of the most intense parts in the movie is the fire scene at the Birtwick stables, the part where Beauty loses one of her horseshoes and gets hurt during a race at the Earlshall estate, and the part where Beauty and a ranger named Terry rescue a man whose leg was stuck under a rock in the river. And that's all I got for Mustang notes, so let's move on to the cast. Let's start with our title character, Black Beauty, whose narration voice is provided by Kate Winslet, best known from James Cameron's Titanic, Mare and the Witch's Flower, Hamlet, Finding Neverland, A Kid in King Arthur's Court, Aardman's Flushed Away, and she'll be in the upcoming Avatar sequel this December. For those who don't know, in the original book, Black Beauty was born on an English farm and had always been with humans, but in this movie, she was born as a wild horse in the Onaki Mountains of Utah, and she gets captured by wranglers. Now, this would have to be the very first time where Beauty is portrayed as a mare instead of a stallion. And to me, ever since my early childhood, I always felt that the name Black Beauty fits perfectly for a female horse. And I thought Kate Winslet's narration is simply wonderful, emotional, but sometimes cute and funny. As for Beauty herself, well, I think she's beautiful, strong, brave, and very loyal. And while watching this movie, I thought that Beauty's life had been quite a roller coaster due to several challenges that she had to go through. Plus, I like that Beauty has made several nice friends while living on Birtwick Ranch, like Marylegs and Ginger, who sadly dies in New York nearing the end of the movie. Next we have Joe Green, played by Mackenzie Foy, whom was in the final two Twilight movies, The Boxcar Children, the 2016 Little Prince movie, and The Nutcracker in the Four Realms. Jo is a young, spirited teenage girl whose parents sadly got killed in a car accident. Now, in my opinion, despite going through a very hard loss, and she tends to keep to herself, I think Jo is a very sweet girl, and as I said before, I just love the bond that she shares with Black Beauty. Plus, I thought the part where Jo rescues the horses from the burning stables was very brave. And I also like that she makes it a goal to rescue and rehabilitate horses and help fix up her uncle's ranch. Plus, I like that Jo substitutes the word breaking with partnering, which kind of reminds me of me whenever I replace a curse word or a swear word with a word that's not as threatening but means the same thing. Our next character is Jo's uncle, John Manley, played by Ian Glenn, whom was in 3 of the Resident Evil movies and the hit TV series Game of Thrones. To me, Manley seems like a very kind and gentle rancher, and he also seems very knowledgeable about taming and communicating with horses. I also think he makes a great mentor for Joe, and I like that he loves reading poetry. The last character I want to talk about is George Winthorpe, played by Calum Lynch. George is the oldest son from a wealthy British family who live at the Earlshall estate. In my opinion, George seems like a very polite, kind, helpful, and handsome young horse rider, while his sister, Georgina, is very cruel, rude, and bratty, and his mother is very pompous, and she looks down on anyone from a lower class. Also, I think George makes a great love interest for Joe, and I like the part where George stands up to his mother, stating that Joe is 10 times the woman she'll ever be. Other members of the cast include Claire Forlani as Mrs. Winthorpe, Fern Deacon as Georgina, Hakeem Kai Kazim as Ranger Terry, David Sherwood as Mr. York, and Nahum Hughes as Manuel. And now on to my final words. Overall, the 2020 Black Beauty movie is simply a powerful and emotional movie to watch. While it is set in the 21st century, I think the story is very well written, the cinematography is excellent, the narration by Kate Winslet is wonderful, the friendship bond between Beauty and Joe is really sweet, and I like how the film goes through several life challenges and adventures, as well as the difference in horses and humans' behaviors and with loss. To me, this is a movie that I highly recommend everybody to check out if you have Disney Plus. And I think you should see it with your children and your friends. And once you watch it, not only will it make you smile and shed a tear, but it'll also show that a Mustang spirit will never be broken, and neither should yours. And so, it gives me great honor to award this movie with the highest rating of 100%. Well, folks, that's all for now. Be sure to join me for my next episode, where I finally begin 2022's Nightmare Month. Here's to 700 episodes and many more to come. Mustang Power!